What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are all having a great day so far today. And it was brought to my attention that some of you would like a hitting tips video. So, I haven't made a video in a couple of years, so I apologize if the quality of this video isn't the best, but you guys get the gist of it. You guys are here for some hitting tips and just content overall, so I'm going to give it my best shot, and here we go. So, the first thing that I want to start with is talking about my user settings and going to gameplay options. A lot of people ask, like, oh, what's the best hitting view? What do you use for your PCI? So, obviously, Strike Zone or Strike Zone High. I think those are the two best hitting views that you can use in this game. And in regards to the PCI, I like using Wedge because in the older MLB games, I always use Wedge, but I was still, at the beginning of the year, this year, I was still trying to get used to like the three dots in the middle of the PCI this year, like how they changed it, and it just wasn't sitting well with me, so I never used it. But before I got my monitor, when I was playing on a big TV, it just wasn't working well. Whatever, I think it was like I was just using the basic one, yeah, and it just wasn't working well for me. So I switched to Wedge when I got on the monitor, and I just sat in custom practice for an hour or so, and I'll talk about that more later in the video. But I use Wedge. I use diamonds in the middle because it's been working for me, and that's what I'm gonna stick with. And I have Starfighter as the outer PCI, but I have it fade out because I think now with the PCI size being bigger, with the most recent patch, I don't think you really need that on, especially for the lower difficulties like Hall of Fame and All Star. The PCI is big enough the way it is, so the outer PCI is really not doing too much for you. And just a little personal preference, I like using white for my PCI and 100% transparency. I kind of bounce back and forth between white and yellow, but I just feel like those two are the best. Um, Using colors like blue and red, like stuff like that, I just feel like it's not as easy to see it in like your peripheral vision. So I'll talk about that more later in the video when we get into custom. So how I have my slider set up is because pitch speeds offline aren't the same as they are online. So to kind of replicate that a little bit, I have the fastball and off speed pitch speeds up because if you can work with this, you're going to be able to hit online. Now, when you hop into custom practice, what I like to do is you can pick any team that you want, really. I just like using the groundbreakers, and I usually face off against the Nationals, so I'll face like Steven Strasburg, and I'll throw like Sean Doolittle to get a little bit of lefty on lefty action. And um, the reason why I like using the groundbreakers is because you have guys like Mickey Mantle on there and stuff like that. It's a card that I use every single day, so it's nice to get some reps in with him. And the thing that you're gonna do when you get into custom practice is just treat every at bat as if you're playing an online ranked game. So you don't want to swing at every little pitch, but don't get too focused on like the outcome here in custom practice. Like if you get a bad, good, okay, or whatever, like don't let that influence you at all. It's literally just to warm up. But a lot of people ask me like, do you cheat anywhere? Like, do you move your PCI a certain way or whatever? But literally all that I do is I mainly keep my PCI in the center, but like right before the pitch, I kind of drag it down in a little bit like this, down and in just a tad, just to create tension. Because if you leave the PCI like this and you're just reacting everywhere, you're not going to hit the ball, especially on Legend. So you got to create that tension a little bit, and it's more about just like pushing the PCI. You don't really want to be too. You don't want to rely on your just like reactions. So like if say you're looking inside and you get a pitch up there, you don't want to just flick your PCI the other way because you're just not going to get a good PCI placement on it. So it's more about just gliding the analog stick with the PCI towards the ball. And a lot of people like to ask me, they're like, are you sitting fastball? Are you sitting off speed? And that's another thing I want to talk about too as well, is you got to use a little bit of baseball knowledge when you're playing your opponent too. I mean, that's just common sense. But like right here, we're in a 2-1 count. We got to run around first, and we got speed. So he's most likely going to throw a fastball. So that's what I'm looking for. You notice he throws a fastball. Like, that's just good baseball knowledge to know. When you got counts like a 2-0 count, a 3-0 count, 2-1 count, counts that very favorable for you, you gotta watch out for that's now see that is a bad swing, but we actually got rewarded on that. But you have to be able to hit the fastball in this game. Like if you're playing on Hall of Fame and Legend, you can't sit on a slider or a curveball the whole game or a changeup because you're just not going to catch up to the heat. So you got to be able to hit the fastball. You got to be able to hit the sinker. Now, another thing you have to look for too, when you're facing guys like Kluber and Hal Newhouser and stuff like that, you got to realize what people like to throw the most. When people are using Kluber, when you have a right-handed hitter up at the plate, they're going to jam you inside with sinkers, and they're going to throw cutters away. So you got to be able to sit on that high-end sinker, but you also have to be able to time up that cutter on away pitches, because if you're early, it's just going to be an easy rollover. But you got to realize that the count that you're in, and realize when people like to throw those. A lot of people like to throw the sinker to start off. So if you're looking first pitch, look for that first pitch sinker. But if it's not your pitch, take it. Like a lot of people think, if you're in an 0-1 count and they throw a strike, a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes, people think they got to swing at it. You don't. Like, okay, I know I struck out there, but I'm focusing more on trying to commentate right now. But you got to realize that the count that you're in too. It's more than just putting the PCI on the ball, in my opinion. Like, you got to understand what kind of sequences your opponent is getting into. So if you notice, like, they keep working you inside, outside, like one pitch inside, next pitch outside, you got to pick up on that stuff. So usually it takes me a couple innings to notice like what my opponent likes to throw and what pitches he likes to throw and what counts. But once you get it down, you can kind of have an idea of what pitch is coming next. And the more you play this game, the more you'll realize what pitches people like to throw in certain counts. Now, in regards to not jamming your PCI, and everybody has an issue. Like, you're not going to hit the ball hard every single time. Like, nobody's a robot. But the best way to get better at this game is to hop into custom practice. If you're in a slump, turn up the sliders, sit in custom practice, and just work on hitting the ball hard. Like, put the PCI on the ball. I know it sounds easier from me saying that than it actually is. But if you can hit on Legend and custom practice with the sliders turned up for almost all the way, you're going to hop into ranked and you're going to do well. So, in my opinion, it's not smart to just hop on the game, hop into ranked, and then say play a game on Legend. Like, it's just not going to work out for you. Unless you're just some type of, like, animal. Because it's just not, that's just not how I am. Like, last year, I made top 50 a couple times, but I would never hop into custom practice before I played a game. I would just hop into ranked, and I would struggle. And I tried doing that a couple times this year, and I would struggle too. So now, every time I hop into ranked, I always make sure I play custom practice for a good 10-15 minutes, and then once I feel comfortable, that's when I hop into ranked, and it actually helps out so much more than you would think. Like, it's actually kind of crazy to think about how much a little bit of custom practice could benefit your game, because all of it that it really is, you're just trying to get that timing down. So once you get the timing down, it's just going to be like second nature to you. Now, I know I haven't been hitting the best well here, but it's more just about trying to give you guys some tips. Like, I'm not trying to put on a home run derby display here, but the best tip that I think I could really give you guys is, honestly, just find the PCI that you're comfortable with and stick with it. Because the more that you try to change it and mess around with it, you're just not going to get comfortable with something, and you're not going to play well online. But once you find something that you're comfortable with, I highly recommend wedge, and if it doesn't work, try something else out. So these are just what I like to use. It works for me. It might not work for you, but these are just my suggestions on how to get better at the game hitting. Like, if I'm hitting perfects with Jackie Robinson, home run, Oppo Tacos, it's got to be working for me. So, if you guys have any other tips that you guys would like to know, like, if you want me to cover anything else, like, I know pitching is kind of hard right now. I've actually been pitching half decent this season. So if you guys would like some pitching tips, I can kind of maybe try to give you guys something. But I feel like I'm better at hitting than I am pitching, and that goes for a lot of people in this game. But once you get that timing down on the fastball, you're going to be able to react to those off-speed pitches. Like a curveball there, you're going to be able to react to that. But you got to hit the fastball and you got to hit the sinker. Those are the two pitches that you got to work on. And I know Kluber's tough, but once you can hit that sinker, you can kind of pick out that cutter and that slurve, and they're going to be so much easier to hit. So I appreciate all of you guys tuning into today's video. I hope I covered some things, and I kind of took a different kind of approach for this video today. It wasn't just strictly sitting in custom practice and just saying, oh, move the PCI here, time it here, whatever. So I kind of went through my settings, how to look for certain pitches and certain counts, what I kind of do with my PCI before the pitch, what PCI settings I use, etc. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. I stream on Twitch almost every night, so I don't really post videos on my YouTube channel. I will put a link to my Twitch channel